We thought we might just continue this a little further, Noel, and talk about Talkback Kings here in Australia. And of course, Talkback Radio in Australia is huge business. John Jost is a Melbourne man who is best known on television for the 7:30 report on ABC. And he's just recently moved from commercial radio back into ABC Radio, where he's replaced Mike Schulberger. Please welcome John Jost.
I surrender.
The great thing about John, Noel, I can promise you, is what you see is what you get. I don't know of anybody else in radio and television who is precisely the same off as he is on. And obviously that's part of your bag of tricks, John.
Well, it's the only bag of tricks I've really got, and it's very wise for me to do that, because if I try and be anything else, I could get into terrible trouble, I think. But I certainly hope no one ever does that to me. It could give people ideas.
In talk radio, John, how hard do you find it to retain your cool?
Every now and then you do get cross. There's no doubt about it. And that's very, very bad, because if you're in the middle of an interview and you get irritated with somebody, generally you come off second best. Though sometimes I think the listeners quite like it if you're a bit there's a bit of something on the liver after perhaps what you shouldn't have been doing the night before. It's sort of part of the spice of life, really.
Mm-hmm. Do you like going into a radio studio particularly and just not knowing what's coming up next?
Not particularly, although I've done it. I think the best radio is well-prepared radio.
No, but of course, with Talkback, you can't prepare that, can you?
Oh,
with
no.
Listeners' calls.
No, listeners' calls. No, well, that's fine. I mean, and I think that you're in natural mode then, so you just respond the way you would in a pub conversation. I try and imagine myself in an environment that's convivial, social, and we're communicating, and that's it.
What about the style of listener from commercial radio to the ABC? In years gone by, there really was quite a difference between the two listeners. I guess not so much today. Not so much today, and what I've discovered that ABC listeners really do ring up. I mean, they'll ring constantly throughout the program. So if you're interviewing, a politician, say Jeff Kennett, we've had big ructions in the state about coalitions and everything, you'll get a full board. All the lights will glow up, and if you like, you can go and take a call up there, and that's the wonderful sort of democratic aspect of current affairs radio, is that you can involve the listener, and people who are the audience can put their threepence in, or a bit more if they like, and I think that keeps you honest.
Do you feel that when you're talking to politicians that...
I'm sorry, I didn't realise I winked then. Just a wink, did I?
It looked like a wink.
No.
Sorry,
you just know
that stigmatism.
It was just a blink.
A blink?
I wasn't being bored.
A blink is as good as a wink.
Go ahead, Noel.
In your case, it would be.
What were you
Can I
saying?
ask a question?
Of course you
I
may.
forgot what the bloody question was. When you're interviewing these politicians, do you feel that you're possibly changing the course of voters' thinking when you're interviewing a politician on a fairly...
Oh, most definitely not.
You do? I know
No.
There is a talkback guy in Sydney who maintains that he...
This is John Laws?
Yes.
Excuse me. Would we all concede that John Laws is the master of Talkback Radio? I mean, I think he's the greatest I've heard in the world. Would you agree, John, that he's that good?
I think he's very, very good, but I sometimes think he deliberately misunderstands people. I can't say that I go along with everything Laws does, but I've never known anyone to work an audience the way he does, and sometimes he'll just do Talkback all day.
Exactly.
There are no interviews, nothing.
Exactly.
Just communicating with people about what they're cheesed off about.
Right, and of course in his case he's the only person I can think of in the history of radio certainly, and I think television too, who can from one day to the next, from Friday to the following Monday, take an audience with him from one station to his next station, his new station, which is quite phenomenal.
It is extraordinary in Sydney about the power of radio up there. I mean, I think it's the only city in the world where if a radio announcer gets the flu, he'll make front page news in the night papers, whereas you wouldn't read about it.
More so than television.
It doesn't happen.
Radio in Sydney is so huge.
Although, it does go in phases. I mean, there have been periods of time where Talkback Radio here really dominated, Ormsby Wilkins, Darren Hinch,
Norman Banks,
and so it goes, and hopefully in the next few years John Jost. But I'd be quite happy to get halfway there. But you don't have to change opinions to do your duty on radio. I think all you have to do is make sure that all the opinions are aired and the stories are followed up and the politicians are thoroughly grozzled when they should be grozzled.
John, something personal for you. Pardon me a second. Excuse me. John, you were originally a print journalist, and
Yes.
indeed you're editor of Playboy, and you've done some fine writing for various newspapers, including The Age, which
Well, I was a
publisher
political
known for.
reporter really for 15 years. I
Exactly.
spent 10 years in Canberra.
Then all of a sudden you had some heart problems, and one would think now that you're working harder in the late 80s than you've worked at any other time of your
it's
life.
different. It's different.
Why?
When I was in print, and certainly there's nothing really wrong with me when I was working as a journalist. I spent 8 years in management, magazines and things like that. And I must say I had to cooperate with people and work with others. And I'm really not too good at that. I got very, very impatient. I'm much better working on my own, working as a performer or a performing journalist. When this happened, I've got a bit of angina, which, as you know, is acute pain combined with the premonition of death. So it does cause you to change gears a little bit. I changed my habits personally. I got fit. And secondly, I had the opportunity to change jobs. It came up as a fluke. And I grabbed it because I knew that you really need to change everything. And so I did change everything, and I was very, very fortunate that the ABC picked me up on the 7:30 report, and you know the ABC is pretty charitable to people because I was bloody awful for the first 12 months, and fortunately I survived it. And I feel $1 million today. I haven't had any pain.
And once you've had that attack,
premonitions.
that angina attack, John, I mean, do you keep looking for the symptoms? Do you keep feeling they might be there?
You do, but it slowly goes away. And of course, as it goes away, that fear, that you run the danger of sliding back into the old bad habits, which is too much grog, too much fatty food, and too many cigarettes, and no exercise.
The
So
story
they're
of
the
your
four
life
things.
for the first
Absolutely.
40
And
years.
and I'm 58. No, I never thought I'd ever live to 58.
Are you really 58?
58.
You look so much younger.
I was old as God.
You're in your 40s, aren't you, John?
I'm 46. No, I'm
46.
not
Oh,
40.
you're only
46
a
in
baby.
August, when somebody's baby's being born. Who's having a baby in August?
Well, I think actually John
Yes.
Deeks is having
John
not
Deeks, that's
in
right.
August, a little later than that. John, thanks for being on the show. It's been great to have you here. It'll be with interest we watch Talk Radio, and I'm sure it's a movie that'll appeal to you too. You'll
I
have to
think
go
I
and see
will
it.
certainly enjoy it, except all I ever get, people occasionally send you in a bottle of wine. There's plenty of that. That's
Do you accept that? That's payola.
Of course. I don't do
disgraceful,
anything in
though.
return for
Not like old Loot Alley at 3UZ.
They were
No,
the
but
days, weren't
that's
they?
when
Well, you
people
never
used
saw
to get,
anything that was
people used to
sent in
get paid things. I mean, that's different. I mean, a gift one is churlish to refuse a gift. I'm not soliciting them, by the way. I'm
No, but you can send them to John, care of me, and I'll pass them on to him. John Jost and Noel Ferrier, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.